Worst fears for those fighting back against ISIS may have been realized. There's a suspicion that chlorine gas has been used on Iraqi police officers. General Jack Keane, retired four-star general, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and a Fox News military analyst. How are you, General? And good morning to you. This is what the report says. A mass of yellow smoke unleashed that hung close to the ground, according to the reporting from the Washington Post. You say you're not surprised by this. How?
No, I'm not. Chlorine is available in the open market inside of Iraq and also in Syria. And the ISIS has had the chemical storage sites, control of them, going all the way back to 2013. They probably have not used the chemical weapons that are there because they're leaking and they're dangerous to the users as much as they would be to their opponents. But this is a terror weapon because you can see it. It's a yellow plume. You can smell it. And when people see that, they break and they run. So it's an intimidating weapon.
What you're describing to us is that it's going to happen again, or it's going to happen more often.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we believe it was used in Kobani. We don't know for sure, but the symptoms were chlorine gas. They had severe headaches, vomiting, burning throat, burning eyes. That's what the doctors concluded, but they weren't able to verify it. So here it is again in Iraq.
So also in Iraq, the airstrikes continue. Some argue they should be much more frequent and often, and we can debate that another time. They also continue in Syria, in the town of Kobani. You are saying that the White House is very involved in the application of this part of the war, and that is significant. Why?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, they're constipating the process because they're involved in it, and usually that's not the case. Usually when we conduct an air campaign, the president is shown the kind of targets that we would be attacking, and then he leaves the commanders to select those targets on a regular basis. They are seeing these targets on a regular basis, and that slows the process down. It also puts them in it in terms of making judgments about why this target, why not. They're very concerned about civilian casualties.
You're suggesting then that, you just let the military do it and execute it the way they best see?
Yeah, you give a military commander the broad mission is to destroy and defeat ISIS. You don't tell them how to do it, and you certainly don't manage airstrikes on a daily basis. We haven't seen anything quite like that since Lyndon Baines Johnson during the Vietnam War when he was micromanaging airstrikes. And my sources tell me this is now going on. The Pentagon's heavily involved, and usually the Pentagon doesn't get involved in anything like this. The warfighting commanders are the ones who do this kind of work. It's decentralized.
Why is it happening? You were about to say civilian casualties. Is that the reason?
I think that's part of it, and I think it's just their going back to Secretary Gates's book, where he said there's a fundamental distrust of the military that exists with the president and the White House, which is dysfunctional. And I think we're seeing that being played out right before our eyes now.
Well, you made the argument a few days ago that we need to push back on ISIS, not militarily, but on their own story.
Yeah, not just militarily. I mean, obviously, kinetically, we're pushing back on them, and the American people can see that. The president said he was going to undermine their ideology. This narrative that they have, we have to de-glamorize ISIS. What is life like for an ISIS fighter in Raqqa? You know, running around in small groups, no flags on buildings anymore, trying to figure out where you're going to eat, are you going to survive the day and not be the victim of an airstrike? What is life like for them in Mosul, where the people detest their presence and they're stigmatized by the people because they're ISIS? Those three girls that went to Frankfurt and they got turned around,
right,
were going to ISIS?
To Colorado, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did they know that ISIS routinely enslaves women so that they can rape them? And the overwhelming majority of the women involved in this are Muslims? Did those girls know that? I doubt that. What are we doing about this narrative? We can push back on this narrative. We're creative. We're sophisticated. We have the means to do it. The coalition should be involved in it with us. Got to undermine ISIS and de-glamorize them.
It's a remarkable point you make there, General. Thank you. Jack Keane out of Washington this morning. Thank you, sir.